You're about to enjoy a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Leading In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. So today we are here with Jackie Mazur, President of Guide My Finances. So Jackie, it's so great to have you here today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thanks, Rebecca. Thank you so much for having me. So as you said, my name's Jackie Mazur. I'm a Carlsbad resident, and I'm the owner of Guide My Finances, which is a financial planning firm that has a little bit different focus than a lot of other financial planning firms that you may have heard of. We work with clients on a flat rate basis. So really, the objective is to be as unbiased as possible when providing financial advice to clients. And within our industry, there tends to be either a lean towards commissions or a lean towards bringing in assets. And as a result, I think that it's difficult to separate, your best interests with my best interests. And so in order to remove that conflict completely, we work with clients the same way that a CPA or an attorney would, where we're just charging for our time to advise clients on the best way to set their goals and find the path to reach them.
I feel like that's pretty revolutionary.
Well, thank you.
I don't think I've heard of that before. That's kind of a different way of looking at it because, true, you always are worried about, the commission versus in my best interest and how does that actually translate into what's best for the client. So that's very interesting.
Well, thank you.
So can you share a story about your childhood? Who is Jackie? Where did you come from? Why don't you tell us a little bit about a story that maybe people don't know about you?
Sure. So I grew up in Orange County. I'm actually originally from New York, but we moved out to California when I was quite young, which I mentioned because it's interesting. A lot of people here in California think I'm from the East Coast, which I am, but I lived here since I was 5. I think it's a result of me being raised by New Yorkers in California. It just gives me a little bit different personality, I suppose. I was really kind of an early starter. I started working when I was 14, and by the time I was 15, I was the manager of a pet store. So I worked really hard pretty much from the beginning and always had to pave my own way. Even at that job, it was, at the time, minimum wage was $3.25. And then I was on commission after that. So I've always somewhat had my own business, even when I was 15, because so much of my, income potential was based on what I put into it. And really all through high school and even into college, I never had a salary. I never had a job that paid a wage that was beyond minimum wage. It was always a commission-based or sales-based job where I had to work hard to get to where I wanted to be.
Well, I love that. And I think one of the things that a lot of young people don't really think about is you have to do a lot of jobs that you don't like, that are not high paying to get where you want to go. And I think there is this sense of, okay, now I've gotten an education. I can just go out and get any job that I want and I should be making a lot of money. But I don't really feel like that's the truth. I was babysitting when I was 12, but I actually had all of these other jobs. I worked at Jack in the Box, saving for my first car. All of these things I think are really valuable in who we're, bringing up as our next generation of young leaders.
Absolutely. And, one of the things I think is the most valuable is figuring out what you don't like doing. When I was in college, I was a finance major, and I thought I wanted to be the CFO of a company. That was the direction I was headed in. And I got an internship for a pharmaceutical firm and under their CFO. And I worked there for a year, and I realized it was 100% not what I wanted to do. There wasn't enough personal interaction. There wasn't enough accountability of my own. I was just sort of going through the motions of, and granted, it was an internship, so I don't expect to be running the company, but it just felt very monotonous and not what I wanted to do. And that was one of the most valuable experiences I had because I was still in college when I had the internship, when I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't graduate and start my first job and realize, oh my gosh, what have I spent all this time studying for to be somewhere that I don't want to be? So I always recommend to young women that I'm mentoring or that I meet that if they can try to get internships while they're in college or just be exposed to the industries they think they want to work in, it'll give them a little bit more insight as to whether they're headed in that path or maybe they should pivot just slightly into something similar but different that better suits their needs.
Well, the funny thing, I do the same thing. Every time I talk to kids or young people, I talk about that all the time. Try things. I always say nothing dangerous, of course, but try things that, you're uncomfortable with and kind of push yourself a little bit and in a bunch of different fields because you may, like you're saying, you may find that what you think you want to do is completely the opposite of where you're actually wanting to go. And I think that is really important for people to explore who they are because it's true. I mean, a lot of people can't do the same thing every single day. It's just too monotonous for them. And if you're not passionate about it,
Right.
you certainly aren't going to reach your potential. So,
And I suppose people could say what I do is the same thing every day, but I am passionate about it. I love getting in there and developing a strategy for clients that best helps them reach their goals. I love being there to help them determine what are they actually trying to achieve and what does that look like. I have clients who say, I want to retire at 55. And after we dig in a little bit, the truth is they're just unhappy in their current positions. And if we can find a way to get them out of that current position and into something that they enjoy more, they're very happy to work longer. So it's really kind of digging in and figuring out what is this goal tied to? And then how do we best find the strategy for how to get there? And I'm a big puzzle or game player. For me, this is like a giant puzzle that I'm constantly putting together for different people. And it's so much fun for me.
well, it's a curiosity thing, right?
Yeah.
So what is one word that really captures who you are?
I would say positive. People know me with a smile on my face. It's something people say that they like, if you're going to be there, we know that you're going to be smiling at us. I just feel like when you have a positive energy and you're smiling, it brings other people joy and it also makes you feel great. And so generally, I am positive and I try to remain positive even in situations that aren't because I think that it is just a great quality to have. And so I like to have it.
We could be twins.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. So how do you measure success? I mean, that might vary from day to day or client to client, or I don't know. How do you think that looks for you?
Yeah. So one of the things I haven't mentioned is that I'm married. Today is actually my 8-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
So we've been married happily for 8 years. And we have 3 kids. I have a 14-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And I'm a business owner and I run a company with 4 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. And I think that for me, the measure of success is being able to do all of that as well as possible. You're not going to be able to do everything perfect at all times. Sometimes work creeps in and takes over my ability to be 100% present parent and vice versa. Sometimes at work, things going on at home don't allow me to be 100% present business owner. But I think that if you can find balance in being able to be there or if I can find that ability to be there for my family when they need me and on a consistent basis and be able to support my team and my clients in a meaningful way, that the combination of those things for me is success.
So you have daughters or
I
tell
have
me.
2 daughters and a son. So my 5-year-old is a little boy and then the 2 girls. Yeah.
So what do the girls think of mom going out and slaying the world?
They don't know any different because I've always worked. I've had my business. I've been in the business since 2003. I pretty much went out on my own when I was 22 and started my own company at 22. And I started Guide My Finances in 2009. So I've always had this business that I've been running, and they really don't know any different. What's interesting is I pick them up from school every Wednesday. I pick them up from school every Friday. I make a point to leave early 2 days a week to spend the afternoon with them. And they'll tell me, Mom, we never see you. Like, they don't know what a full-time working parent looks like, or that me going to work is any different than how things should be.
I think 2 words might be your words. I think positive and then also maybe tenacious.
Probably.
I mean, 22, that's pretty remarkable. And, I think that is very uplifting to younger women that want to become leaders, because I think a lot of what holds us back in life is fear. And fear of maybe I can't make it, maybe I can't do it on my own, maybe there are not opportunities for me. And so I think, just that in itself, doing something so amazing at 22. And your current business, when did you start that? 2000?
That was in 2009. So
okay.
When I was 22, I had seen a type of industry that I wasn't thrilled with, which has continued to grow into what Guide My Finances is today. But I was working for a firm that was forcing me to sell insurance to people who didn't need it, and I just didn't feel good about it. And so I ended up, under the supervision of a couple of mentors of mine, going out on my own, and they supervised me and helped me get started. Now, don't let me fool you. The first year, I made $8,000. Like, I was not self-supporting, but my parents were both entrepreneurs, and they knew that in order to grow a business and to get going in the future, there's a period of time that you have to build where you're not going to be making a ton of money. And that's okay. That's part of it. And so it really helped me to to be able to develop a company that I felt strongly and passionate about and felt good about on a day-to-day basis, where I was really serving my clients in the way that felt right to me, not necessarily how it's always been. And that was for sure a risk. But I was 22. If you're going to take a risk, take it when you're young, because now I don't know that I would even be able to take that same risk.
Well, no, it would be too hard because you've got the kids and you've
Exactly.
got a mortgage payment and you have all these things.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because I think that is also another part of leadership that and taking those chances. There's a lot of sacrifice with all of that. I know when my ex and I had started our business, we had pulled so much money out of our home. It was actually, I remember thinking there were moments, okay, if this goes bad and it goes under, we're literally going to lose our house because we had pulled so much money out of it. It was actually mortgaged for more than we owed. I mean, I'm sorry, more than it was worth. And so we were kind of going, okay, this could go bad. Yeah. But, and I think there's a lot of hope in when you have gotten through those tough times and, $8,000 a year, that's a little frightening, but,
it makes you fight harder.
Right. 100%.
If you know your house is on the line, are you going to give up early, or are you going to work until there's either it's successful or there's no other options? Like, having that self-proclaimed need to get that business running and to have it be successful, like, everything is on it. And so you do it or you don't, right? And
you have to be all in.
You have to be all in. That's exactly it. So and then a couple years later, while working, I went back to get my master's degree. And it was after graduating. I had been in the business for a couple years before going back. And while I was in school getting my master's degree, because I had been working in the industry for a couple of years, I found myself teaching the other students in a different way than the teachers were. And that's where I really developed a love for advising and teaching instead of selling. And that was where Guide My Finance Today was kind of birthed from, was my experience with just talking to people and walking them through and explaining things in a way that was not using jargon that people don't understand. Right after I graduated, I started teaching as an adjunct professor at the college level. And that also helped me fine-tune kind of my communication skills around how to break down some of the financials or the financial planning in a way that people who don't work in finance can understand. And so it was a combination of those two experiences that had me create Guide My Finances. kind of as it is today.
Well, and pivoting, to get to where you actually wanted to be and kind of tweaking what you had been doing and saying, no, I want to do this my way.
Yes.
Which is okay. And that, I think a lot of listeners might take a lot from that, because figuring out what your brand is, I don't want to say brand, but that really is kind of your brand.
Yeah.
And it's authentic, and it's more of a guidance rather than this is what you have to do and this is what you should do. I think it's more presenting it and, teaching people, because I know me, and I like to know why. I like to know the why. I have this side of me that's very, I don't want to say left brain, but sort of. I really need to know the why things are, not just this is how it is. I need to know why is that, and then what are my options, because I'm a plan B girl. I need to know what my plan A is, and then also what my plan B is, because I never want to fall into a situation where I go, okay, I've got no options.
Right.
And I think a lot of people like that. So as far as men go in the industry, do you have any men that work for you? Are you an all-women firm?
I do. So I have 2 men who work for me and 3 women in addition to myself. One of them is my husband. He joined the team in January of this year. We were really busy and I needed more help. And so I brought him on to handle some of the operational duties, as well as be in doing some business development and prospect management. So he joined the firm earlier this year. And then I also have another gentleman who works for me who just graduated college last year and is just doing great moving up the ranks. So I love supporting women in our industry. There are still a lot less women in finance than there are men. And so I want to give women that opportunity, but I also think it's important to have some balance. And so I try to, find just great people who can help, have the same ideology as the firm and who are open to really doing things a little bit differently.
Well, I think having someone right out of college really lends to your developing them in the way that you do business, rather than have them, be in the industry for several years or decades, and they are kind of set in their ways. So I think that actually gives you a lot of opportunity in that.
You're absolutely right. It's really been challenging to find really experienced advisors to join the team, because they have been taught to sell insurance or to recommend XYZ. And so it's been a great experience. I think it's been one of my biggest learning experiences, is hiring and interviewing and finding the right people. But I am confident that I've been successful at it and that will continue to be. So fingers crossed.
So you mentioned a little bit earlier about your mentors, men, women, both.
Ironically, a majority of the mentors in my business have been men. I don't know, when I was young, I've always been very outgoing and positive, and I think that attracts, right?
I couldn't tell.
It's definitely attracts. And I would go to networking events, which is something I, again, highly, highly recommend young women do while you're in college. Before you get into the business, network, because the more people you meet, the better off you'll be and the more contacts you have in the business. And through talking to different people, they just saw the potential in me and wanted to help bring me to the next level. And I have 3 male mentors that very early on in the business really helped me get started. And I thank them on a regular basis for believing in me and having me take that leap and continuing to be there for me for the first couple of years of the business. And what's interesting is one of them recently said, I may have been your mentor then, but now I'm learning from you. And so let's just continue to learn from each other. And that's been a really wonderful experience.
Well, I think the reason probably that they are men is only because the predominance of men actually in that industry.
Yeah.
So, but now I think that's interesting that now you've become the mentor.
Yeah.
So now other leaders that are in that business can look to you to find out what your special secret sauce is.
Yeah.
Which I think is very authentic and really, I think, speaks to people, because I have a lot of confidence in you right now, and I just met you.
Well, thank you.
But you definitely seem like you care. And honestly, I think one of the biggest qualities of leadership is actually having the ability to still care.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think once you lose that, it really changes what you can do and what you can achieve. Because I know for me, if I look at a leader, I want someone that I know cares about me and cares about what, how I fit into the big puzzle and how I can bring value to the situation or to the business or the career.
Absolutely. I mean, managing people's finances and helping them make decisions that are life altering. If you don't care about that person and about the result, how good of an advisor are you going to be? I, to my fault, become overly invested in my clients' well-being because I want them to be successful. I want the advice that I'm providing to help them get to that next step. And it's extremely important to me to have that be the priority.
So, just kind of back to men in the industry. Have you ever had any resistance from men? Following
Sure.
you?
I mean, when I started in the business, I started with a man at the same time, and he used to say to me, "Aren't you going to bring a gray-haired man with you into this meeting, or aren't you going to do?" And I said, "No. If somebody doesn't want to hire me, then they shouldn't hire me." And I think that setting that stake in the sand and saying, "Look, I'm a woman. If you don't want to work with a woman, then you're in the wrong place. Go find somewhere else. And if you're okay with working with me as a woman, then or you don't even see that I'm a woman, because that is often the case, I think, these days. It's, wow, you're a great advisor, not you're a great female advisor."
Right.
And so I think that takes a certain amount of confidence to just say, I'm good at what I do. I know what I'm talking about. And if you don't see that, that's fine. That's totally okay. I am not everyone's cup of tea. I'm not going to be. I'm very direct. I move quickly. There's a lot of different reasons that I am or I'm not a good, fit for every single person. And if one of those is me being female, then so be it.
Yeah, that's good to know. So just speaking to young women, what are some lessons that you've learned that they could apply to their life?
I already mentioned a couple. I think just staying positive and having a smile is very important. I think networking again, getting an internship again are really just core things that you can start off with to get going. I think that, again, something we talked about a little bit earlier is you don't have to know what you want to do next. But it's very important to try things and from that experience pull what did you or did you not like about that experience, or maybe a little bit of both, to help figure out what is that next step, what is it that you're looking for. And I think that if you can sort of pull from each experience you have, that it's going to give you a little bit more certainty or a little bit more direction in what you want to do in the future.
Well, direction and also your leadership style, right?
Yeah.
When I look at other leaders, I say, "Oh, I like that about them, but I don't like that about that other person." And I think, really creating who you are in being a leader and what you see that works. It's always I hate to say it, but it's always good to see when people have failed.
Yeah.
Because then you go, "Okay, won't be doing that."
Yeah. And I mean, we've all failed at one time in our
sure.
life.
Yeah.
I mean, about 10 years ago, I started a financial education program for teenagers. And I dumped money into it. And I strongly believed in it. Again, it was something I really, really believed in, was teaching teenagers about the basics of finance. And I would go into the schools, literally at the high schools, and say, "Look, I have this after-school program I'd love to offer." And I could not get anybody to sign up for it. In 6 months, I had 6 kids go through the program. And what it broke down to was that parents had sports, or they had this, or the kids had this, and they didn't want to pull them away from it. And I held on to it and I tried to make it work. And ultimately I said, look, this is something I'm going to table for now. I'm going to focus on my financial planning business. And at some point I hope to go back to it. And it wasn't time lost. I have a lot of people today, a lot of advisors asking for, do you have any resources for teenagers? And I'll just send them the information. I'll send them the coursework. And they can just teach it to their clients' kids just because it's good information for people to have. And so in a way it was a failure, but in a way it was a way that I can be a resource for others in the industry, which for me is a win.
Oh, absolutely. I honestly think it should be taught in school.
Oh, it should.
Because when you think about, how our kids, I mean, I don't know about you, but the kids that I speak to, they have no clue about finances, about credit scores, about how to get credit. All of the things that are really important to actually become, a good citizen in this world. And many parents don't have the skills themselves.
Yep.
I mean, think about how many people live off of credit and they don't understand that they can't qualify for a house and all of the things. And I mean, gosh, the way everything is more expensive now, and
Yeah.
saving money and investing in your wealth, investing in your long-term viability. A lot of people have no clue about that. And if the parents don't know it, how are they going to teach the kids?
That's exactly it.
I think I'm glad that you have just tabled it and not kind of scrapped that idea, because I really would love to see at some point. And I know that I'm actually on a nonprofit board that actually talks about this.
Oh, yeah.
So I really want to hear more about that at a later date, because I think I think you have something there, something that's very valuable for the the kids, and really figuring out how to move them forward in life to become successful adults.
Yeah.
And part of that is definitely financial.
I agree. It absolutely is. And, even for a lot of parents or adults who understand parts of finance, there's things they wish they had known sooner. And so just giving that baseline, I think, is helpful for so many reasons.
Oh, 100%. So tell me, what are you most passionate about in your whole journey and how you got to where you are?
Well, I mean, I'm very passionate about how I run my business. I can tell you kind of a quick story. When I was working for that one company where I was selling insurance right out of the gates, and I told them I was leaving, the manager said, "You'll never make it without us." And I said, "Okay, we'll see." And then a couple years later, when I decided to start Guide My Finances and do it a different way, I had tons of people in the industry telling me, "This is a mistake. Why would you take a residual business and make it transactional? You're going to be wasting time. This isn't going to work." And I said, "You know what? I don't care what you have to say about it. I'm just going to try it. And if it doesn't work, then so be it. But I've given it a go, and it's what I feel good about." And fortunately, I was able to prove them all wrong, which I feel very good about.
Yes.
How do I measure success? I proved everybody wrong, and I did it, right? But along the way, I think it also taught me that if there's something that doesn't feel right or something that does feel right, to move away from what isn't the way that you think it should be done and move towards, what do you want it to look like and what feels right and what is morally and responsibly the best way to do something, not just how can I make the most money. And for me, I think that has been the greatest lesson here. And ironically, with doing things in a way that clients respond to, that's in their best interest, I have become more successful than some of these people who told me that it would never work. And that's kind of fun because I'm pretty competitive too.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, it's true. I mean, you need to go to bed at night and know, did I help people?
Yes.
Did I make their lives better? I mean, I feel the same way. And you can't do that if it's always all about money.
No.
It can't always be all about money.
It shouldn't always be about you either.
True.
There's definitely, I mean, I don't have so many hours in the day that I donate, but somebody will call that was referred who has some questions, and I've been known to spend 1 to 2 hours on the phone solving someone's problems who maybe couldn't afford to hire us, because we get into the conversation and I just really want to help and answer their questions and point them in the right direction. And that's okay. And I've taught my team that as well. Look, if somebody has a question, you don't have to mark your hours every second, which is a unique thing for a billable type company, right? But every once in a while, it's important just to do what's right and to help people who need it. And it all comes back around. And if it doesn't, then we spent a couple of hours doing something that felt right. And that's okay too.
Well, again, that's caring.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of people overlook that.
Mm-hmm.
Having that caring part of you is a very important part of life and, people and investing in them. So I'm glad that you're still taking the time to do that.
Yeah.
Even in your success. I think that is really tells the story of who you are.
Well, thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Try to make time.
Yeah. So advice to the next generation of young women that want to be leaders.
Oh, well, one thing that I think is really important, if you can do it, is to start focusing on your goals early. I know for me, one of the things I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be there for my kids. And I had this foresight that if I started a business when I was 22, by the time I wanted to have kids, hopefully it would be going enough that I had the ability to do that. So really kind of start early and figure out what is it that you want to do? What is it that you like? And create that path for yourself to whatever it may be. Maybe it's not a family, but maybe it's, being able to travel more, do different things. So prioritize what you want to see happen in the future and really start to build a foundation to help you get there. And just do what you believe in, I think is really the most important. Follow what you believe in.
Well, and then take the pivots as you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. I mean, start on that path and then kind of go, okay, maybe I need to move a little bit this way. And,
Yeah.
depending on your passion, because the truth is, and I can tell this about you, you're very passionate about what you're doing. I don't think there's any way you can truly fail when you really
Well,
are.
thank you.
When you really are, when you're really
Yeah.
passionate about something. I mean, you might get tweaked and go a different
Sure.
way, a different path, but I think overall, you're going to be in that same
Mhm.
sort of, path. It just might have little turns here and there, not like a huge huge shift, but
Right.
a small tweaks.
And I would say the other just really quick thing
Yeah.
is to make sure that you're finding balance.
Yeah.
If you love to travel every year. Don't let your growth or your success get in the way of that. I know people who say, oh, I haven't taken a vacation in 10 years. I work 100 hours a week. And to me, that is not success. That sounds awful. I want to make sure that I am working hard and making time and doing things. But I take family vacations with my family every single year. My husband and I try to get away for like 2 weekends or a couple nights with just the two of us to keep our marriage strong. And I think that it's important to do both those things, not focus so much on the success of your business, but focus on the success of everything collectively in your life and make sure that there is some balance within that.
Well, let's be honest. If you're not getting refreshed,
Yeah.
you can't keep up that pace. I mean, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
If you don't have things that are filling you up mentally and emotionally, there's no way that you can work 100 hours a week or 50 hours a week. I mean,
No.
I work a lot, but if I don't have that time, I definitely feel very depleted,
Sure.
and I can't be as effective as I actually need to be when I am depleted.
Or find a way to make it work. Like I wake up at 4:30 every morning and I
Oh,
work from
gosh.
4:30 to 6:30 where I work out
Mm-hmm.
so that when my kids wake up, I can spend the first hour with them and walk them to school and then go back to work. And it gives me a little boost of time for either self-care, exercising. I try to exercise like 5 days a week, or to get some of that work done in the morning that I don't want to creep into those afternoons where I'm picking up the kids. So it's not always working less. It's maybe just finding a way to make it all work so that you have that ability for that balance.
Right. Finding the right time frames, moving, shifting. But
Yeah.
I mean, really, time management is very important too. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
You can't deny that, especially when you're trying to find balance. Because there are certain things, I mean, your kids are always going to need you. And I love that you have, prioritized certain times with them, Wednesday afternoons, Friday afternoons for the pickup. It gets tough. And, gosh, even with all of the things that our kids are doing with the sports and all of that, I remember my daughter was playing on a traveling soccer team, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was 5 days a week practice. And then there were games on the weekends, and it was all soccer all the time. It felt like many of the times. And I remember thinking, how am I going to find balance for this? But you kind of figure it out. You just have to prioritize sometimes, I think.
And my team keeps me honest. I'm my daughter's Girl Scout leader, and my son plays soccer, and I volunteer on a board of directors and have some different, organizations that I'm involved with. And I'll have a Girl Scout meeting, and my team will say, Jackie, we got it. Just leave. You have to go. You've got this commitment to your daughter. And
Okay.
they literally push me out the door and tell me that they've got it.
That's
So I think that having that mutual respect for and if they've got something they need to do, I'm pushing them out the door. So
good. Yeah.
it's being able to not just make the time yourself, but it always helps to have a group of people rallying behind you
Definitely.
to support that balance that we all need in our lives.
Well, that's picking the right people. So
Yeah.
what's next on your journey?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm one of the things that's been neat is that in the last 5 years, this structure of my business where people are charging for their time is starting to pick up steam. There's more people opening businesses and starting to pivot their businesses to this business structure that I've had now for 11 or 12, almost 12 years. And I would love to just support or help encourage other people to to take this pivot in their business. I've acted as a mentor to other women in the business, and within the industry and different organizations, I know a lot of advisors and different people in the industry. And so I would love to maybe have more of an impact in having other firms follow suit so that clients have options for where to get advice in an unbiased way.
That's great. Well, I see big things for you. I really do.
Thank you. Yeah.
I really wish you all the success. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think your story is really interesting, and I love your energy. It's so positive. It really is. I mean, positive is a very good way to describe you. It's your smile is infectious, and I don't know how you couldn't be successful just in that itself.
Well, it's been so fun to be here. I appreciate you having me, and I hope to see you again soon or do this again in the future.
Yes, thank you so much, Jackie.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learned how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with CEO host Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.